What's going on, arcade nerds? Let me show you my messy garage and my oldest born. My garage is currently in the middle of being cleaned out. I need to fit 2 cars in here for the winter, and I'm in the middle of working on somebody's Mad Planets cabinet right here. I sprayed it with automotive paint, and I'm not happy with the finish at all. I don't know if you can pick that up in camera or not, but there's some orange peel. And anyways, I'm going to respray that again. And I'm probably going to do something Mad Planets related in this video. This guy has been so gracious with me. A guy dropped off a Mad Planets machine, and he says, "Hey, can you restore this for me?" And I said, "Sure, why not?" And I told him, "Hell, man, I'll probably do it in a couple of weeks." Well, it's been a couple months, and I need to finish this. I contacted him. "Dude, I'm sorry, man. I've been busy with a whole bunch of crap." And he was so gracious with me. He said, "Hey, I don't care." He says, "If possible, can you get it done by Christmas?" And I says, "Hell yeah, we'll get this done by Christmas." So anyways, he's gonna have a Mad Plans. But what I'm doing today is working on this 350 Chevy. But yeah, let me do another zoom around so you can see my junk. Oh, we just put in this heater, and there's no insulation, and there's an extra heater right there, and there's no garage door. There's just a tarp outside right there. When I bought this property, there was no garage door whatsoever, so I cut a giant hole, and I have a garage door brand new in the box laying in my yard. So sooner or later there will be a real garage door there. And you know what? I'm so excited about that damn garage door. I don't know. Yes, the garage door. Anyways. The Simpsons. Anyways, so let's get started on this sucker. Okay, so I'm gonna replace the main bearings. By the way, the original crank that came out of here, unfortunately, it's a cast crank. It's not as strong as I'd like it to be. But anyways, the crank that come out of here was still within spec. So guess what? That means I get to use standard bearings. So literally, all I'm going to do is put the exact same size bearings right back in again. How cool is that? Look how shiny that is. Standard bearings. But yeah, I picked up some Hyper Eutectic pistons, which I'll show you in a little bit. But okay, so before I get that crank on here, I'm going to get some of this lube, assembly lube, on there. You never put too much in. You never get too much lube. All right. Okay, now we got the crank in. Show you a trick. While it's in, you can rotate the cam and see watch how the lube is tracking on the bearing races. And to me, that looks like it's tracking just fine. Okay, so here's the front bearing cap. There's an arrow. See the arrow? It always points to the front of the motor. So, also you should never get this clean, but never put oil behind the bearing. So I'm going to get this little notch. It's going to line up with this notch. And it should pretty much just snap in like that. And you can get your thumb and kind of make it even. And that's looking even to me. Get some assembly lube. And put it towards the front. And I'm going to repeat. Okay, so now I'm going to put the bolts in. And I'm going to use this ARP fastener lubricant. Now what this is for is I have to torque these to a specific setting, to a specific torque. And this will allow me to get a really nice torque reading instead of you know, that makes sense. It allows it gives it some lubrication so I can get a good accurate torque reading. Well, guess what? I forgot to put the rear main seal in. This is your rear main seal. This just ensures that oil doesn't leak out of the back of your motor. Often these fail, very often, especially these early engines with a two-piece rear main seal. Anyways, I'll show you a trick. See this lip right here? That always points towards the oil. Anyways, when you put the rear main seal in, you want to do it just like that. See how I'm rotating it in there? Pushing it in. And you don't want it to get all the way one way. You want to leave it about an angle like that. And here's the rear main seal over here. The other piece. And there it is. Okay, I just kind of put these on with this ratchet just by a little bit. And so now I'm going to torque the main caps. I'm going to do it in 3 individual torque, what's the word? 3 increments. I wanted to say increments, it just didn't sound right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this to, now the torque of all these bolts need to be 70 foot-pounds. So I'm going to torque them to 20 first. So, see how it clicked? I got 20. Already there. 20. 20. 20. 20. I'm just barely nicking these. 20. 20. 20. 20. So, just for giggles, let's bump it up to 30. Why not? I don't care if I do 10 increments. $30. 30. 30. 30. 30. 30. 30. Okay. Let's bring it up to, here's 40, 46, I don't know, whatever, even number. we got that. Okay, we're about halfway through, right? We're about halfway to the correct torque. What I'm going to do is I'm going to see if this thing still turns. It does. Okay. So now we know that none of the bearings are binding or anything like that. I probably should have checked that at a lower torque, but hey, we're getting there. Okay, so that was 45. What do you say? We'll go up to 60. Getting close. We're supposed to stop at 70. Okay, did I get them all? You get this one? You did? Just want to make sure. Okay. So, we're supposed to be at the 70. This will be our final torque. There we go. That would be 70. Did I get this one? I keep thinking I forgot this one. I got it? Mm-hmm. Okay. And it still rotates freely. Now it's kind of stiff because I put that thick assembly lube in, but hey, it's good. No binding. I think we're good to go. Let's move on to this oil pump, huh? Okay. Now this is supposed to be 65 foot-pounds. But I set my torque wrench to 66. Big whoop. Want to fight about it? I'm going to need an extension. Okay, so before I put the pistons in, I need to put new piston rings on my pistons. I ended up getting new pistons, and the reason why is because number one, I wanted to bump up my compression ratio. Number two, I wanted hyper-eutectic pistons. These pistons are called hyper-eutectic pistons. Normally a piston on these older motors, when it heats up, like any metal, it'll expand, right? And so to compensate for the expansion of the heated metal, they purposely make the piston a certain size because it's going to expand into the cylinder. Well, these new hyper-eutectic pistons, they don't expand as much. So you can have tighter tolerances. This will be nice and close to the cylinder bore, as if it's already been heated up when you first start it up. Does that make sense? Anyway, so this is a better technology. It has less leakage and things like that. So, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put my expander rings on. I'm going to put it in the gap, like that. And I'm going to bring it over. Boom, I got my expander ring. Now these guys are my oil rings. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the lowest spot, right there. And I'm going to go ahead and put in my oil ring. The lower oil ring. There we go. I'm going to put my upper oil ring in. Like that. See, now I have my oil rings on. This will hold some oil while it's going up and down the cylinder, of course. And what's that say? Second groove. And these rings have a little marking. It says top. I don't know if you can see it or not, but top. So the top needs to go on top. So I'm going to do the same thing. But, you know, you get the idea. I'm going to repeat the same process. We're going to put all these rings on. Okay, as soon as my wife's done fingering this. Alright, good enough, good enough.
I can see a little bit how to put more in there. Pretty much wiped it all off the first one.
Yeah, you'll have that. Last one's the hardest. I should have put a screw here so I can hold it up. But maybe I can reach in and pick it up from the inside. It's just important not to... Yeah, I can pick it up some in here. Just important not to scratch the cam bearings. There we go. Put some lube right there.
If you would have had it out a little bit, I could remember it. So I don't know if there's enough on that first one.
Okay, so I have the new rods. I put a piece of rubber hose on each side to protect the crank journal so it doesn't scratch us when I put it down. And as you can see, I have it in a piston ring compressor. So, put it right in there. Note that the dot signifies the front of the motor. Oh, look at that! It's beautiful! So I'm going to rotate the engine and we'll put the piston rod bearings in and put the bearing cap on. Okay, so bearings are in. Bearing is in on the rod and bearings in on the rod cap here. Notice how when I took this to the machine shop they actually marked which rod cap goes to which rod. So that's kind of cool. Well, I can't mix anything up. Get that. And for now, I'm not going to torque these. I'm going to torque them all in one shot. I'm just going to snug these up just a little bit. Just a little bit better than finger tight is all I'm going to do. I get my fingers in there. Oh, and of course, assembly lube on all surfaces, you know. You know, I bought brand new ARP bolts for this, and actually, yeah, I'm gonna have to use some of that ARP lube. Now that I think of it, I bought brand new ARP bolts, and the machinist says don't put them in. And I says, why not? And he says they're going to be different thickness for the rod, so my spacing will be off, and I have to take it to a machine shop again. So I'm kind of sick of paying the machinist to do this and that. So we're going to go with the stock bolts on this time. Okay, so all the connecting rods are in. I got my boy. He's rotating the motor. Stop. So far, I already did one pass. I torqued all these to 10 pounds. Now I'm doing a 20-pound pass. The final torque we need is 45 pounds. Go ahead and turn the motor again, Will. My baby boy. All right. Okay, rotate the motor again, Will. Stop. Rotate. Oh, back. Go another revolution. Okay. Now they're all 20. I'm going to go ahead and bring it up to 30.
A little bit more.
That'll work, Will. Okay, now we're going to 30. And looks like you can leave it there because I can get this one too. Okay, get this one, Will. Okay. This one. Okay. Okay. I guess let's bring it up to 45 now. This is our 40. There's our 45 mark. Okay, rotate. Okay, this one. Okay, well, all the pistons are in, and as you can see, I dumped an excessive amount of assembly lube all over it. Probably doesn't help much. It just makes me feel good to know those are nice and lubed up. Anyway, so I'm not going to flip this motor over until the heads are on now. So I'm going to go ahead and put the lifters in. Just going to put a little assembly lube in each of these lifter galleys, the lifter holes. Because we have the cam in, I'm going to have to order special push rods, of course, so I can, since I'm changing the head, we're putting aluminum heads on these. But I'm just doing the bottom end today, that's all. Some people like to soak these in oil, but I'm not going to. I have my reasons. Cam I'm using is the Something Dash 1107 cam from Summit Racing. Okay, lifters are in. Okay, we are a couple days later, and check out my new garage door. We installed a garage door. How nice is that? Anyways, all we've done at this point so far, I put the timing set on. And now we're clearing out the threads on the heads for the cylinders. What I did is I got a bench grinder, okay, and I ground out a whole section of the original head bolt. We're putting new head bolts in, okay, and if you notice, there's a big ground out area, and the reason for that, did you get this one yet, Kelly? Yet, Will?
No.
Is this will pull out all the crud inside the head. Go ahead, Will. This will pull out all the crud inside the threads. Why do we care if there's crud inside the threads? Well, I'll tell you why. Because when we torque this to spec, if there is some crap inside the threads, then it can affect the torque reading. So we want to have a nice, proper, the best torque reading we can possibly get, and so that involves cleaning out the threads. So Kelly is on her way to the store to pick up. My wife is on the way to the store to pick up some brake parts cleaner and some black engine enamel. So we're going to paint this black, and we're going to clean it up, clean some of the grease away with the brake parts cleaner, and so on. Okay, so I cleaned the whole motor. Right now this is all covered in packing tape. And I'm probably going to get some oversprayer here. I don't care. I'll just wipe it off. I did clean up this motor with what's it called, brake parts cleaner. That stuff's a really wicked cleaner. It removes grease really good. Anyways, some of you, I'm getting ready to spray this. Some of you may say, oh, that's not ready to spray. I'm spraying it black, and me spraying something black, well, a motor, I don't care if it's totally complete or not. If anything flakes, I got all the oil and grease off. If I were to have a chip, I'll just hit it with a brush. I don't care. Black is a great color to hide grease and oil, right? Anyways, so I'm just gonna spray this, and let's see what it looks like in a minute here. Okay, now that everything's painted, I'm going to put gasket for the timing chain cover on. And here's the gasket. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to get a little bit of this blue RTV into my fingers. And I'm going to spread it across the gasket. I know I went thick there. I'm just going to coat the whole damn thing. Sticky crap. Okay, give me a little squeeze there, Kelly. Okay. And I'm going to connect the alignment tab down here to the alignment tab right here. Right there. Can you hand me a paper towel so I can wash my fingers off?
Yep.
Drop my ratchet. Oh, this stuff is nasty. I hate it. I hate sticky crap on my hands. Okay. So here's this. It's a little dusty and dirty now, but whatever. I've been collecting parts for a while, trying to get this build going. And brand new bolts came with my timing chain cover, but I can't find them. So luckily, the guy I bought this bare block from, he gave me a coffee can full of bolts, which happened to have the correct bolts. Although I kind of wanted the nice shiny chrome ones. If I find them later, I can replace them one at a time. You know? But okay, let's get all these bolts in. Okay, that is on. And so now it's time to put our first head gasket on. Now, these head gaskets have a marking usually that'll say up. So we know that's the top of the gasket because they're a mirror image. You could put it on backwards. What the difference is between the two, I don't know, but whatever. And we have these alignment tabs here and here to help align the head, and they allow us to put the head gasket on nice and fancy like. So, now our head gasket's on. Now the head gasket I went with is 41 thousandths thick, and if I would have went with, alright, which gives me 10.1 to 1 compression ratio. I wanted something higher, and believe it or not, a thinner gasket can bring me up to like 10.4, you know. But the reason I don't want to go with a thin gasket is because, you see, a higher compression ratio will give you more horsepower, but at the possible expense of pre-detonation. Anyways, the reason I'm going with this thick head gasket is because I did not take this block to a machine shop. For all I know, and I don't have the fancy straight edge to check for clearances on the block or anything, so who knows if this block is squaw. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and go with a thicker head gasket, which is more forgiving. This is basically a stock head gasket. But okay, so let's get the head in here. Okay, here's my one head. Now before I put this on, I just wiped it down with a brake parts cleaner to make sure there's no oil or anything on this head. So let's put this sucker on. Going to try to align the alignment tab without damaging the gasket at all. Somewhere. Turn the camera off. Let me just... Okay, so yeah, it actually just popped right in as soon as I turned the camera off. You know, I guess it's common sense, but I guess it wasn't for me. I just looked at the bolt holes and just stood that way till it lined right up, popped right in. I was just overcautious. I didn't want to. I didn't want to scratch the heads on those alignment tabs. Right now, I'm putting in General Motors head bolts. I could have used the original head bolts since these are not torque to yield head bolts. These are standard torque head bolts. But I just felt better using these and so on, so I could get these on. Anyways, I'm not going to bolt them in like this. I'm setting them in so I know where they're at. And I'm going to, one at a time, put some PTFE on the threads. I'm just making sure I have them all, to be honest, too. But, alright, I'll catch up with you. Okay, I do indeed have every single head bolt. Now this is what I'm going to do, and I'll explain why. The top of every head bolt will get some fastener assembly lube, okay? And the bottom threads of the head bolts that go into the water jacket, they will get PTFE. It's like a thread sealant, because if I don't put PTFE on there, what's going to happen is the water jacket will leak up through the bolt threads and water will get into the motor. We don't want that. Anyways, there's a certain order to torque this. I'm just going to turn the camera off and just torque this down because I'm a little unsure of it myself. I'm going to have to look it up and see how to do it and so on. You know, and like I said, this is not a guide for anyone else. This is just my adventures of what I'm doing. So go ahead in the comments, tell me everything I'm doing wrong, and I'll listen to it honestly. But all right, so I'm going to shut the camera off. I'm going to go ahead and torque these down according to the order that you're supposed to torque these down to. And I'll probably overkill it and do like 5 steps instead of the 3 you're probably supposed to do, just because, you know. But all right. So this is the last torque on the last head. My boy's doing it. Come on now. You want to do the last tightening. These bolts are being tightened to 65. And I wasn't sure earlier about the bolt pattern, but it goes something like this. This one, this one, this one, this one, this one. It's kind of like a spiral as it goes out. And that's the proper torque sequence for the head. But we are getting there. Look at this goofy hat. And there's my daughter. Wasn't Kyle? Oh, Kyle over here. Just come over. My baby boy. Thank you, son. But that's where we're at so far. I can't wait to see what it looks like with the intake on. Okay, so the heads are bolted down to spec now. So now what? Well, we're gonna put the head gaskets on, or the intake gaskets on. So I'm gonna put some blue RTV around this. This is to seal the water. Okay. Some there. Some there. I'm going kind of thick. I don't care. And I'm going to put a slab of RTV right here. That's going to help hold my gasket in place. This stuff's sticky. Okay, let's get this port. And I can always wipe off the excess RTV if it sticks out. To help, put a big glob of it on there. Okay, so get this crap off my finger. Now I'm going to try to get a bunch of this in this corner. And we're going to make a gasket right here. Get a bunch in this corner. Same thing over here. Put it on heavy. Put it on heavy. Okay. So, get the intake gaskets, right? These are Felpro gaskets. You can see they have a little notch right here on the bottom. That notch goes towards a block. And all that goop will help hold my gasket in place when I put the intake on. Where'd I put the RTV? Okay, so what's up, buddy?
Not much.
Nothing much.
Not much.
Okay, I'm gonna put a little more, a little slab of it right here too. On the other side of the gasket. And this is where I really don't want anything to leak. Last thing I want is water in the oil. Here comes the fun part. What? What's so funny? What are you laughing at? You're being recorded.
You're being recorded.
No, you're being recorded.
You're being recorded.
You're being recorded. Everybody's laughing.
You're being recorded. And I got proof.
Okay. That says I have 3 minutes left. Let me erase a couple of videos so I can actually finish this. Hold on. Okay. So let's get our intake on. I think that's it. Yep. That's it. Hey, Will, can you give me the intake bolts, please? Where should those be? So basically I'm just going to put these bolts in. Right now I'm holding the intake because it wants to slide off the engine stand. Okay, the whole intake is bolted down to 30 pounds in the proper two-step torque pattern. Okay, so let's put this carburetor on. And let's put this carburetor on. Yeah. Oh, that's looking badass. I love it. Very cool. Oh, we have an issue. I don't know if you can see it in the camera or not, but the linkage is picking up the carburetor. So, yeah, let me show you what's going on. Let me move this down. When I move the throttle, that piece is touching. So, I'm either going to have to remove some aluminum out of here, or maybe I'll put, let's say, a 1/2 inch riser on each carburetor, just so it'll clear and give me full throttle. Now these two carburetors I'm using are both 600 CFM vacuum secondaries. So that means the primary opens up right away, of course, but the secondary won't open up unless there's enough vacuum for it to give it a reason to open up, which is a good thing. So in other words, if I were to floor it and it just happens to be too much carburetor for the engine, it would bog down. Blah. But, blah. But anyways, these secondaries monitor the engine vacuum and will not open up unless the engine's ready for it. So, pretty cool. Looking pretty awesome. Oh man, I'm loving this. Anyways, so I'm out of money for now, but you know, eventually I'll finish this. I'm waiting for rockers to come in the mail. I got to order some stud girders that are gonna hold this. Why do I need stud girders for an engine with a stock bottom end? Just for insurance. It's like an insurance for me. You know, maybe someday I'll be able to afford doing a few different things to the bottom end, but for now I'm just doing whatever I can afford. I got that intake for $100 on Facebook Marketplace, which was a steal of a deal. It was red. It looked like this. And so I stayed up all night polishing it with a Dremel, and it's not a mirror finish, but it's kind of a cool look the way it is. And you know, just using a bunch of Chinese parts, whatever I can afford to get this thing built. And you know, this is going to go in that Corvette. I want to hopefully, depending how money's going to be, you know, soup up the Corvette and then try to do some sort of soup up to the other two Corvettes for my sons. You know, my sons wanted original, both of them, but you know, I'm like, man, when I was like 14 years old, I would have wanted a motor sticking out of the hood. I don't know about you guys. I wouldn't want to be embarrassed at the stoplight, you know. Oh, hey, let me put on the water pump first. I can put the water pump on real quick. I can do that. Okay, so I can at least get the water pump on. Here's the two water pump gaskets. They actually are goofy shaped, so I actually cut them because these were for the original water pump, and I'm putting an electric water pump on. So I'm gonna do the same old thing I did before. I know some people may not like it like this, but that's how I want to do it. Just gonna sit there and work in the gasket crap. Work in the gasket crap. Work in the gasket crap. There's that one. And over here. That's good enough. Like I said, this is used. Everything I'm doing is on a tight budget. Get in front of the thing, come on. Get close, because this is only going this high. Bring it down.
Too dark.
Too dark. Let's all do it at once. You saw. Well, there it is for now. That's as far as we can go. Maybe I'll make some other video where I actually finish it. That's it. Have a good one, guys.